All right. I want you to put yourself in this place. You finally got what you wanted. You accomplished your goal. You've climbed the ladder, got to the touchdown, whatever the analogy is that you want to use. And it doesn't feel the way that you thought it would. And when that happens, it's not failure. That's what I call an ambition hangover. So this has happened to me more times in my life than I care to admit. Work myself to death, strive, push, grind, hustle, whatever the adjective is, to get to the thing that I know that I want and I know is important to me and I know that I care about. But when I accomplish that thing, it doesn't feel like I thought it would. And the other side of that accomplishment is hollow. It's lonely. It's scary. And what I've found is that we put so much energy, effort, emphasis on the chase, that ambition, the thing that drives us, whether it's athletic pursuits, whether it's business. In my circumstance, much of that is the journey of entrepreneurship. And the other side of that ambition leaves us not how we thought it would. It leaves us hungover. It leaves us feeling like we're not quite sure what to do. And that's what today is all about. This episode isn't about losing ambition. It's not about curving that drive. It's not about pulling back. It's not about doing less necessarily. It's about reclaiming ambition without losing yourself in the process. How do we be high performers? How do we drive? How do we set goals? How do we do these things that I think certain people are uniquely cut out, made, qualified to do? How do we do these things and it actually be fulfilling? It actually be sustainable? It actually be something that leaves us excited for the next phase? And today is about achievement without achievement in the absence of fulfillment just really is exhaustion, right? Achievement without fulfillment is just exhaustion dressed in success. It's success parading around as achievement, but really we're just exhausted. And I don't know if you've been there, but I certainly have more times than I care to admit, where it looked successful. It looked like I had done the thing, and I had, but on the other side of that was really just me being tired, frustrated, burnt out, worn down, and confused about what I was supposed to do next. So today we're going to unpack that. We're going to talk about the psychology of that. We're going to talk about what the ambition trap actually is, what creates this environment for the ambition hangover. We're going to talk about how to reconnect our ambition to meaning, something that actually is sustainable and is a foundation that can drive us. And we're going to work to think about some practical ways that we can actually, again, be these people, be the high performer. I am not advocating, nor do I think that it is prudent that the people that are committed to doing great things back off. We need those people. I love people that go all in. By all means, commit to the big goal, do the scary thing, go deep, run fast, proverbially and physically, if that's your goal. Whatever that is, go all in. There is a beauty in fully committing. But It can't be at the expense of what keeps us excited, right? If on the other side of that ambition, if on the other side of that success, you flatline every time and you have to dig yourself out of a hole, then that's not what we're aiming for. So let's talk about the psychology behind this quote unquote ambition hangover, which is what I'm calling it. First, we have dopamine. This is the main player here, right? I've talked about the chemical responses of different behaviors before on this podcast, and dopamine is a major player here. It is the driver. It's the thing that truthfully most of us are in the pursuit of. If you're into athletics, you're chasing dopamine. If you're into building businesses, chasing a career, reaching success, checking boxes, being a high driver, accomplishing a lot, what you are chasing dopamine, right? At a fundamental, foundational, psychological, physiological level, dopamine is the driver here. And what's happening is that there's some dynamics with dopamine that are at play here. Firstly, dopamine peaks during the pursuit of a thing. That's why it feels good. When we're driving and we're committed and we're solving problems and we're seeing results and we have those inevitable valleys, but we have the peaks that come with it, all of that is providing a dopamine response. And the dopamine is at its peak when we're in the pursuit. It doesn't peak when we are in achievement. So once that thing is accomplished, that gets buffered, right? We reach the goal, we solve the problem, we finish the race. Dopamine no longer really has a role there, right? Very quickly after that thing happened, after we've achieved, dopamine is buffered. So once you hit the goal, dopamine crashes and you get this emotional hangover. Anybody that's ever done, I've experienced it a lot in specific to athletics. You finish a big goal, you've been so tremendously emotionally, physically, mentally invested in this thing for so long, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, a year, multiple years, that on the other side of that thing, you've crossed the finish line, no matter what the results are. When you cross the finish line, emotionally you crash. You don't have anything else to reach for. There's nothing to connect to. It's been your primary driver. It's been such a big part of your identity. And then you get the emotional crash as well. And ultimately, the chase feels better than the catch, right? It's not until you realize you've built your life around the chase that you can recognize that this is something that you really need to solve for, right? The chase is what draws us in. We say that it's the end result. We say that we want the goal, the success, the shiny object. But if that was the case, we would stop there, right? The reason that we continue to set goals, that continue to chase, is because the chase is the thing, right? It's the dopamine hit. It's the driver. It's not actually the goal. And so recognizing that is really the first step. To that end, again, we realize that you've built your life around the chase. There's an identity piece here. We equate our achievement with self-worth, right? We say, okay, well, I'm only as good as my ability to do X. And when the pursuit ends, our identity immediately feels unstable. Well, now I don't have anything to chase. I've done that thing, but I don't have there's no other goal, or at least that goal is not close. I'm not close to the achievement zone. And so what does that mean about me? What does that mean about who I am, how people see me, how I see myself? And the emotional component here is that ultimately what we're experiencing is that the space after achievement feels very much like a what now? Right? There's no new narrative. Again, there's even if you've set a goal, even if you've you know what your next project is, you signed up for the next race, you have the next event, you have the next milestone mapped out for your business, whatever that is, there is this liminal space where the narrative doesn't exist. You don't know how to connect with that thing. You've come off of this huge high, this big buildup, this big push, and then again, there's that space afterwards, and it can be relatively short. It can also last a very long time, but it is that, like, what now? What am I supposed to do now? How do I get back? And oftentimes for me, it is, how do I get back as quickly as possible to the chase, to the pursuit, so that I can realign with the narrative that gives me back my identity? Because when I'm not in that space, I'm not sure who I am and how I'm supposed to show up. And I was reading the other day and came across a really interesting study. And I think, data and stats aren't everything, but I thought this one was really compelling in that it's from the Harvard Business Review. And they did a study, and it says that, or what their findings came up with, is that 87% of high performers report a post-goal letdown. That was the words they used, after a major milestone. 87% of high performers report that after they've reached a goal, they have a slump. And so this is not just an isolated instance. This is a prolific issue. It's a prolific state of being that so many people at any given time are dealing with. And again, there is a very real psychological aspect here that's driving this. And it's something that I think, one, just recognizing makes it, awareness is a great tool, right? So I think that's the first step. And I hope that that's where you're at right now. You can see that in yourself. You can recognize that that's happened. I know our audience, I know the community that we've built with Endurance Minded, and it's my bet that 99.9% of people listening right now resonate with what I'm saying. You've been there. You've been on the other side of the goal. You've accomplished the thing. You were striving, push, go. You thought that if you could just reach that goal, then you could finally rest. Then you'd finally feel accomplished. Then you'd finally feel like you were good enough or smart enough or had the right ideas or whatever the thing is. And when that happened, lo and behold, there's the slump, right? There's the ambition hangover. Just on the other side of that, again, is the what now, that chasm of how do I get this narrative back, right? The chase is actually what we want. And arguably, and I'll speak for myself, the chase is what we're addicted to. It feels good to feel like we're tracking down in pursuit of something that other people can't do, right? That's a strong narrative. That's a sexy thing to get pulled into. That's a sexy world that seems very enticing, right? Physically, I can do this thing that other people can't do. Intellectually, mentally, emotionally, I'm smart enough to do this thing. I have the drive, the commitment to stick with this thing longer, put up with more pain than other people. And while all that can be true, just on the other side of that is that space. In that space, that what now, that's the piece that hurts us. That's the piece that traps our identity. That's the piece that keeps us from being sustainable and from separating who we are with what we do. So this ambition trap